I felt at times like a vulture watching and trying to film. It felt, it did not feel like a good place to be.
So were you taught as a young journalist, or as you're progressing through, how to deal with the emotional impacts that reporting on crisis can be?
No, I don't think there's any. I never got any formal training, and I don't know of any news organisations that do. I think you go out and you do it, and hopefully as a young reporter you don't have to do the worst stuff, but you never know, you just might be in that place at that time and have to deal with it. I think probably what's more important is what help you get afterwards. If you need help to deal with it, to talk to someone about it, to have some time off, I think that's really important.
At what point did it hit you, the reality of what was happening around you, and when you just sort of thought it was too much, or it just hit home?
Probably about 4 days afterwards, I was driving back to Christchurch because I'd done the first 3 or 4 days and I'd worked about 10 days in a row, just do my other stuff altogether. And I was driving back through Arthur's Pass, and I suddenly was just kind of overwhelmed with the enormity of what had happened and the reality that probably these 29 people would be dead and they would never come out of that mine alive. And I remember just having to pull over and stop at Arthur's Pass and cry. And for me, I used to find with all the big stories and the sad stories that I did, that there was often a time where I'd get to the end of all the hard work you do for the first few days, and you would just have to do that and just have to let that tension go. There's no point bottling it up, you just had to do that. It just became harder to go out and do stories with people that were hurting, because you'd go and talk to people, even people in the eastern suburbs here in Christchurch, who had lost their homes and were fighting and struggling with EQC, and everything was hopeless for them, and you knew what they were going through, and so they might not have lost a family member. But I found, after doing, say, a year of stories on all of these things, I could look those people in the eye and I could see their pain all the time, and I found that really upsetting. And I think I reached a point for myself where that was potentially going to get in the way of my reporting, and I thought I need to have a change. I tried to do stories that were good stories and had a positive outcome for a while, and then I wanted to go and do the Pike River inquiry, the Royal Commission, because I thought there was a point to that, and I wanted to tell that story as a journalist as the evidence was unfolding. But in the end, I think 18 months of those sorts of stories was enough for me, and that's why one of the reasons I made a decision to change and leave journalism. I suppose if I'd had a holiday and gone back, it might have been okay. But I think if we're human, there's only so much reporting that we can do on those sort of situations without stopping and having some kind of a break. And I think it's essential to get the nice things back in your life and the normal things back in your life. And that's been hard here in Christchurch, because so much of Christchurch has been, abnormal. It's been really hard to live in Christchurch. We must never forget that these people have actually lost someone, and how would we feel if we were in their situation.